Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for another episode of the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to it. It is episode number 341, and it is January the 13th, 2026. We're moving into the middle of January. Well, that's good because it's a depressing month. And if you saw my vlog yesterday about how depressing January is, then you know it would be good to be in February. Anyways, let's have a sip of coffee to get the day going. At least it's getting the day going for me. Maybe for you it's a later time, but for me right now it's 7 o'clock in the morning. So let's take a look at what I've been working on. Well, what I've been working on is catching up on my UFOs, and I'm very proud of myself because I have managed to get all my UFOs that were sitting waiting for Lucy to quilt them all done. I am binding them. I've got 3 bound. And once, well, I'm going to show you them in a second. But first, let me talk a little bit about what you see here. This looks pretty much the same as it did tail end of last week because I haven't worked on it since. I've been putting this off until I get all my UFOs done. And I'm almost there, as I said. But this is my Quilt of Valor. It will be a Quilt of Valor quilt. And I am designing it myself around that panel in the center. So it's coming along, and I'm excited to get back at it. Excuse me, frog. Coffee. So I'm excited to get back at it, as I said, but not until I finish up the last 2 UFOs. But speaking of UFOs, let's take a look at what they are. Okay, this was one of them. This was a table runner. I had the kit for this that I bought back in September. I've had it done since sometime in October, and it just sat there. Never got around to getting it on Lucy and getting it quilted. But I have now, and it's all bound, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And I'll just do a little close up here so you can see the quilting. And there's the quilting. Stars and swirls and things. I think the design is kind of fun. And yeah, and this is one, I think I'm going to keep this one. I'm not going to put it in my pile of things to give away, as if I give anything away, because I'm still always looking for someone to give them to. And I know some of you are going to write in the comments, oh, you can send it to me. Yeah, I would love to. My problem is the way things go across our borders, if you're in the States or whatever, and just postage alone anymore is just astronomical. But anyways, I digress, as I often do. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I used my binding is the same as the backing, and basically I didn't think that hard about the backing. I had some of this laying around. It was blue, and there are blues in this. So I just figured it'd work, and I think it does work. Okay, next, this one. This one has been done for a very long time. This was a pattern that came in the Missouri Star Quilt Christmas box in 2024, the 2024 box. I started working on this before Walter and I went down to Dahlonega for the retreat in 2024, and I finished it at the retreat as far as the top was concerned, but it has sat in my pile for since then. So I finally got it all together, and I finally got it quilted on Lucy. And this is a very tiny quilt. It's not huge at all. It's more of a wall hanging. I think it measures around 48 by 48 inches, something like that. I'll give you a close-up of the quilting on here. So you can see I just stuck to a really simple loopy design. It went very fast, and that's what I wanted because I just wanted this out of my hair. Thing I don't like about this pattern, and it isn't really my mistake. It is a mistake of a Missouri Star quilt pattern. First of all, you'll notice that these trees look like they have their points cut off. Well, they don't. Well, they do. That's the way it was designed. Okay? Also, you'll notice that the house points in some cases are cut off in the border too. Now, that's a combination of their instructions and me. They never called for a border on this quilt. And in hindsight, I should have put a simple, maybe just a white skinny border all the way around it so I could avoid it, what has happened, and that is cutting off the points of the houses. But at this stage in the game, I just want to get it done. So I guess this is an example of the expression better done than perfect, or better finished than perfect, whatever the expression is. As I said, this will just sit in a pile. I'm not going to put it up on the wall. It's cute. But yeah, that's one. I can't even donate that to charity because charities don't want wall hangings. So, and I don't have a wall. If I had a wall, I'd probably put it up in spite of its flaws, but I don't really have any place to hang it. So yeah, it is what it is. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is the kitty panel quilt, and it was a very simple pattern. As you can see, just rectangles basically and sashing. But I think it's very pretty, and that's what attracted me to this. It was the panel. I don't like doing panels, he says, as he's just showed you one that he's working with for Quilts of Valor. But this one was very, very pretty. I suppose I could have enhanced it if I had done some free motion quilting on it, did something like thread painting or that, because I think this would lend itself to something like that. But yeah, I'm not good or even close to good with or competent with free motion quilting or thread painting. So nope. And I just want to get it done, and I'll give you a close-up here of what the quilting looks like. Hard to see because I used a color. I use sort of a variegated. I don't know what that's doing. Here we go. You can see it's just swirls. Just swirls. Again, but it's done. And that's fine. And what am I going to do with it? No idea. Right now it's hanging on my quilt rack along with a whole bunch of others. No, sorry, it is not. I actually put it on the guest bedroom bed. And there's already about 3 different quilts on that bed. So that's where it lives, because I just think the cat is just too pretty to ignore. So yeah. So I have, as I said, 2 more quilts to bind that are unfinished ones. I'm hoping to get at least 1 done today, maybe 2. And speaking of the UFOs, I thought you'd like to see Lucy at work just for a couple of minutes here, so you can see how cooperative she was with me and how cooperative I was with her, and that's always a good thing. Lucy, through all of those UFOs, did not give me a second's worth of problems at all. Maybe that is saying that I have finally, after 4 years, almost 5 years of having Lucy, I have finally figured out how she works. I'm a bit of a slow learner, but here, take a look at Lucy at work. So, this is a quilt that I made over a year ago. I made it at the Delonica retreat in 2024, and it was a Missouri Star quilt pattern that came in the Advent box that year. I completed it at the retreat, but I never got around to quilting it. So today, over a year later, it's on Lucy, and I'm quilting it. And Lucy so far has been a good girl. Things are going well. I also doubled the batting in this one, not for the reason you might think. I doubled the batting simply because it fit perfectly on this piece for size if I left it doubled, and I was too lazy to pull it apart and cut it. So it's got a little extra batting, if that's okay. So I'm working on my last UFO quilt here, as you can see. Lucy, this is her second quilt of the day. She has been brilliant. Lucy and I have not had words at all today. Cross my fingers, let's hope this continues. And it's been going along really nicely. So this should be done in another hour or so. And then I'll trim it up. And then I just have 5 pieces, UFOs, to bind. That'll take a little while. And then these UFOs are out of my hair. It's a good day. Anyways, as I said, I want to get those last two UFOs done really quick because my reward, I guess, for doing them is to get back to what I'm really loving, and that's working on my Quilt of Valor. Okay, so that's what I've been working on. So some reminders, Sewing with Stephen is back on, of course, always on Wednesday. Always starts at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and we go until about 4 p.m. Eastern Time. All are welcome. Link is in the show notes. Come join us. If you're new, don't be shy. We don't bite. And yeah, we have a good time. Speaking of good times, there goes my voice again. Pop-up Sew Day. I'm thinking Saturday, January the 31st. Thinking. I haven't written that in stone yet. But I'm about 80% sure that's when it's going to be. But anyway, stay tuned because I will announce it officially a few days before, and I'll have all the links for you then as well. Okay, but there is another sew day coming up, and it's Russ of Quilt Meets World is having his sewing shenanigans on Sunday. So pop over to his YouTube channel where he has it announced there, and he'll have a link as well for it. And some of you are probably already on his mailing list, so you've probably already gotten the email for that. And yeah, and I have another sew day, but not for you, for me, and it's actually Walter's sew day, and it's an in-person sew day. As you know, this usually happens about once every month, and I'm going off with him with his cronies to work on the Quilt of Valor. Yeah, because it's that way over there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that because they're a great group, small group. There's only maybe about 6 of us there, but I get a lot done when I'm there, and it's just nice to be in a different environment sometimes when you want to sew. Okay, so this past week on So Chatty, we did another topic that was suggested to us by one of our subscribers, and I called it Creating a Love for Reading Through Quilting and Sewing. You know that I used to be an English teacher, so literature, reading, all those kind of things are right up my alley. And so I did some research and found that there are many ways through quilting and sewing that you can turn kids on to books, and adults as well for that matter. And it works the other way around too, turning people on to quilting and sewing through books. So if you didn't see So Chatty from last week, check it out. It may give you, at the least, it may give you some ideas for gifts. Okay, and another thing that I did, you know, I've been making bags, and I made all those ones at Christmas time that had the embroidery on them, the felt bags from the dollar store, from Dollarama. Well, I've been hanging them on bent coat hangers, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, that white thing hanging there. That's a bent coat hanger, and actually, that's a really good trick for hanging bags because it works. However, as I often do, I wondered if, well, I didn't actually go looking for it. I stumbled over it, but I found these 3D prints for holding bags. And I'll just give you a little bit more of a close-up on this. Not the bag. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Okay, why can't I get this thing to work? There we go. Okay. So, oh, I just realized I was doing rainbow colors. Well, that was an accident, but that's okay. So these are designed to hold the bag, as you can see, and clip over, you know, it could be a rod in your closet or whatever. In my case, it's out in the Lucy room. And yeah, they're working out very well. But I also made one other style. Here we go. I'm experimenting a little bit with what would work best for me. And the first one I made was this little blue one with 2 hooks on it. And then this one has 4, and it's holding on to 2 of my Holland duffel bags that I created recently as well. So, you know, it's a great way. Using the back of doors for storage is not a bad idea. And of course, these are thin enough at the top. They're strong, but they're thin enough that I can shut that door without any problem too, if I need to. So yeah, so practical 3D prints right there that work with your quilting or your sewing. Okay, so that takes me to Subscriber's Quilt of the Week. This comes from a male this time. Yes, I know, rare. But this comes from my friend Lance Olson, and this is his beautiful creation. This week's quilt from a subscriber comes from a male quilter, which is nice because I don't often get a chance to show male quilter quilts. And this is from Lance Olson, and Lance has been a subscriber for quite some time to the channel and a good supporter and friend. And he sends us this beautiful creation and says this about it. He says, attached is a picture of my finished quilt design. It is my own, and this is the first scrappy quilt. I hope you enjoy it. Well, yes, very much so. And Lance, you should write the pattern for this. I know it's a scrappy quilt, but it is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. This is what I would call a scrappy quilt with a mission, because basically it may be made up of scraps, but you definitely have design elements incorporated here. I love the borders, the way you've done those, and I love the stripy binding as well. It really sets it off. This is a really beautiful quilt. You should be very proud of it. And I'm sure anybody out there who has never attempted a scrappy quilt before or thought about doing one, here is a fine example of what you can do with your scraps. So thank you, Lance, for sending that to us. It's absolutely gorgeous. So, if you would like me to feature one of your lovely creations, please don't hesitate. Send me one picture of it and 50 words or less about it, and I'll be happy to feature it here on a future episode of the Idiot Quilter. And so that takes me to YouTube of the Week, and this is a YouTube of the Week for someone that many of us are very familiar with. I certainly am, and I've already mentioned him, and that's Russ from Quilt Meets World. And Russ just made a really exciting announcement about a sew-along that he is going to be doing very, very soon. So here's what I'm talking about. This week on YouTube Video of the Week comes from my good friend Russ, who is the creator of Quilt Meets World YouTube channel, and he made an announcement earlier about doing this project, the Secret Garden Sampler, as a sew-along. And Russ does sew-alongs on a fairly regular basis, and they're paced out very nicely so you don't feel a lot of pressure. And this particular sampler quilt is one that I will not be joining in on, not because I dislike sew-alongs with Russ, not at all, but just I have done one of these quilts before, and not the Secret Garden, but another one, the Barn Star Sampler quilt, which you may remember took me about 2 years to do. I'm just not a big sampler kind of quilt guy, but that's me, not you. You should join Russ for this lovely project, and he will take you through it step by step. And Russ is very, very good at giving instructions. They're very clear. So check out Russ's channel. Check out this announcement. The link is in the show notes below. And while you're there, check out his other videos as well, because I'm sure you won't be disappointed. So that's the Secret Garden Sampler Sew-Along with Russ of Quilt Meets World. So that takes me to future projects. Now, this one is a pattern from Missouri Star Quilt. After what I just said about Missouri Star Quilt, I'm not a fan of their patterns. I really am not. They write very minimalistic patterns, and sometimes they are not easy to follow because they're so minimalistic. There's some assumptions made and it's not always good to make an assumption, is it? But nevertheless, this one caught my eye because it came with a puzzle, and this was part of this year's Missouri Star Quilt Christmas box, and it's a small, makes a small quilt, but you can make it as big as you want, and it looks to me like it might be very good for using scraps. But here's what I'm talking about. This week's future project is another quilt that is kind of on the scrappy side, because you could use your scraps, I believe, for this particular quilt. And it's called Winter Stardust, and it's by Missouri Star Quilt Company. Now, the reason I have this pattern is because this was one of the gifts included in this year's 2025 Advent box. And it came with a puzzle that looks exactly the same as the quilt. But at first, wasn't interested in the puzzle, but the pattern caught my eye, mainly because of the bright colors, but also because I was thinking that I could make this from all the scrap fabrics that I have that were left over from when Walter made some of my shirts, which I think would make it kind of unique. So that's why this is in my project box for 2026. Finished pattern is 72 by 72, so that is a good size. And now in this pattern, they say you can use 10-inch squares for this. But as I said, I'm going to make it from leftover pieces from the shirts that Walter made. So yeah, I think this might be fun. The only thing I hesitate about is I don't find that the Missouri Star quilt patterns are all that well written. They take into consider, or they make some assumptions about you as a quilter. So, but looking through this one very quickly, I think this is very doable for anybody at any level of quilting ability. So, if you're interested, I have the link for this pattern in the show notes below. So, as you know, I have a new segment that I'm trying out on here called Points of Interest. And the point of interest this week comes from a longtime subscriber and friend, Pat Jennings. And you may know that name if you're a regular here, because I have shown some of Pat's beautiful art quilts in the past. Well, this time Pat shows us her talent in another creative area. This week's point of interest comes from Pat Jennings, who's a longtime supporter of the channel and a friend. And Pat sends along this watercolor of her one-year-old granddaughter that she has done. Now, Pat is very, very talented in her quilt making. She does a lot of wonderful art quilts. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this painting in terms of how we as quilters have transferable skills, I think you might call it. I mean, think about it. Painting and quilting, there's a lot of similarities. You have to pick colors that work together. You have to think about your design and composition of what you're doing. You are using a multiple number of techniques to create that final product. And all of these are skills that work with both quilting and painting, and probably in other creative endeavors as well. Pat here shows us how we are not pigeonholed into one thing. Many, many quilters are not just quilters or sewers, but have other creative talents. For example, I was a scrapbooker and a paper crafter for many, many years before I discovered the wonderful world of quilting. So all of these things do work together, and they all are forms of creativity and inspiration. And I think this painting by Pat, which is absolutely wonderful, and I wish I could paint, but I can't, is a really fine example of the multifaceted talents that most creative quilters have. Thank you, Pat, for sharing your lovely picture with us. So although I've already pretty much alluded to what I've been working on the last week, of course, this is the part of my episode where I usually have a little short video showing what I've been working on. So this week, what I've been working on is I've made a great deal of progress on my UFOs. I had 5 UFOs that all needed to be put on Lucy and quilted. And as you can see right here in this pile, they are now all done. They are not bound yet, however. So I have to get them bound, and that's my goal for this week. Nothing else much in here. You already saw that I made some bag hangers, and you can see them up there. It's where I hang my bags. I have this bar that runs across here, and these 3D printed little bag hangers are great. And of course, before I printed those, I discovered these ones that hang on the door. Let me back up a bit. So these little hooks, this one has 4, and I've got those Holland duffel bags hanging on them right now. And these seem to work very well right here too. You know, you try to eke out as much storage space as you can. So let's go into the sewing room And yes, the 3D printers are madly working. I'm making a desk lamp, and that's what these parts are for. And this is working on the very last of those. And if you saw my vlog yesterday, you know that I made a toilet paper roll holder that looks like a snail, and that sits in my bathroom. But Walter decided he wanted one in his bathroom. Yes, we have 3 bathrooms, ours, his, and mine. And don't ask. And so that's what this is working on right now. And I'm experimenting with using some what they call support material. And I've never done this before. When I bought the first bamboo printer, I got a spool of this stuff. I can show you what it looks like here in the AMS. It's this one that looks sort of like a white, but it's not. And when you have objects that have supports on them, like this will have, it makes it easier to take the supports off. That's the theory anyways. I'm checking out to see how that works out. Yeah, what else have I been up to? Well, of course, I've got my Quilt of Valor happening over here. And it's coming along. This is my own design based on this panel. And it's kind of tricky. Quilt math is hard. But my goal is that if this works out okay, and there's more to this than what you're seeing right here, right now, I have more planned for it, put it that way. And I'm thinking of writing this up, if it turns out okay, as a free pattern that I'll make available to everybody out there that wants it. And I may donate the pattern to the Quilt of Valor group as well to put in their store. But that's down the road. We'll see. It all depends on how this turns out. And I'm probably going to make 2 of these, except that this pattern, I think, could adapt very well to any kind of panel. It doesn't have to be one specifically for the Quilt of Valor, and in any color scheme that you like. So the second one I make will be a test of the pattern to make sure I've worked out all the bugs, and then it makes it a little bit more versatile too. You know, people are always looking for ideas for working with panels, or at least I am, because I don't enjoy working with panels because they're never printed straight, and you know, you got to get them the right size and everything like that to work into whatever you're working on, especially if you're designing your own pattern, because you know, quilt math hard, as I said. And so over here you can see all my Quilt of Valor O Canada series of fabrics that I pulled out. Not going to use all of those, but I have them handy for what while I'm working on this other pattern. And laid out here, I'm hoping to, at the time that I'm recording this, that I'm going to get this onto my sewing machine and get it bound today. I've already got the binding all made up for those UFOs. It's just a question of getting them all sewn down. So I'm starting with this one today, and we'll work our way during this week on to the other projects as well and get those out of the way. So yep, that's what I've been working on this week. So that takes me to my review of an online quilt store. And just before I show you the video I made for that, I just want you to know that, remember, this is my opinion, my personal opinion, and I'm looking at things from a consumer point of view, and I'm looking at it solely from the web page that has been posted by any of the places that I review. You are absolutely free, as if I could stop you, to make up your own mind, make up your own judgment. What I might like or not like is probably different from your tastes, and that's the way the world works. I don't want you to think that I am suggesting that you shouldn't or you should shop at a certain store. That is totally your decision on here. I just want to make that clear. So this week, the online store that I am reviewing is called Soft Impressions Quilt Shop. This week's online quilt store is called Soft Impressions, and this is in Tilbury, Ontario. And well, this is their front page, so let's see what it has to offer. We have a scrolling graphic here of some of their products and what their store looks like. They have some indexes, I guess, or links to all fabric, batting, all notions, all patterns, and gifts. They do long arm rental, and they have classes, and they have supplies as well. And it looks like they have a newsletter too. I'm just looking down here quickly to see if they have anything about their shipping policies. They tell you what they accept. They accept all the cards, and maybe we'll find that out under terms of service. Well, since we're down here on the front page anyways, let's see if we can find it. Okay, lots of stuff about credit cards and accuracy, notifications, products and services. Okay, they have quite the list here of fine print. And in this, I am not, oh my goodness. This is quite the list of their policies. Yeah, that's daunting, isn't it? Okay, but I don't see anything listed here about their shipping methods. Maybe we'll come upon that further on. So let's go up and take a look at their fabric. We'll start with all the fabric and see what kind of selection they've got. This says they have 44 products for this, so that's not a huge selection of fabric. Prices. Okay, so we've got, well, first of all, we've got some novelty fabrics. We have some blenders. We have sets of kits in here as well. So price-wise, they vary. From it looks like as low as $3.75. I'm assuming $3.75 means it's, yeah, you can get it in half meters or fat quarters. A meter is $15. Well, that's really cheap at that price, but the prices do vary. So that was this one. So these are by, I think, the prices are quoting you on some of these are fat quarter, but they do have it by half meter and meter. $18.99. Well, that's still not a bad price. So that's okay. But really, if you want to check out what their price is going to be, you're going to have to click on it, because I think when you see these from, that means quarter meter. Okay, and looking at their selection, it's, well, there isn't really that much to choose from that I see. A lot of novelty fabrics, some blenders, but really nothing much more. They do have bundles of fat quarters. I did see pre-cuts listed up here as well. Maybe we should check those out. Yeah, nothing. Pre-cut fabric. This collection is empty. So, okay, that's not great. They do have fabric panels. No, they don't. Basic blender fabric. Well, they do have that. They have how much? 13 to choose from. So selection is very limited. Themed fabric. Okay, so you've got animal fabric, Canadian fabric. Let's see, nothing in Canadian fabric. All right, let us go animal fabric. Some birds. Okay, yeah, selection's not great. Let's try one more just to see. Floral and foliage. Okay, so really, if you want to see what they've got, I don't think you need to bother with any of these categories. Just go to all fabric. They do have wide back. Let's take a look at what they have for wide back. Oh, well, now from 14, from 15, from 12, from 11.50, not a lot to choose from, although what they do have here isn't bad. Well, let's see. Let's click on this. Yeah, so a meter's about $30. Okay, so they're averaging around $30 a meter, which is not out of the way for wide back. And this particular one's 118 inches opposed to 108, so that's not bad at all. Okay, so that's their fabric. Let's take a look at patterns. Well, they have, looks like their usual. Embroidery, miscellaneous, pre-cut, friendly patterns, table runners, wall hangings. Okay, applique patterns.
Nothing. Bag and toe patterns. 1. Okay. Baby patterns. Nothing. Embroidery patterns. Nothing. Miscellaneous patterns. 2. Panel patterns. 3. Pieced quilt patterns. 4. Well, okay. Nothing, not a heck of a lot to choose from here. Pre-cut friendly patterns. 2. Okay, so very limited on the patterns. Under notions, well, let's check out batting. Well, they only have one kind of batting, and it's Bosal, and it is 2¼ inches wide by 50 yards batting. So that's it. Nothing there. Okay, I'm getting the feeling that this is either a very new website and they haven't got all of their products up yet. Nothing in tearaway. A lot of empty space here. Okay, well, let's take a look at cutting tools. Rotary cutting blades. Okay, they've got replacement blades. What else do they have? Let's see, scissors. Yeah, not a great selection there either. I don't think I'm going to carry on with that because really, I don't know. Is there anything more? Oh, thread. They have thread. Do they have thread? No, they don't have thread. Okay. I think they may be more of a long arm rental store. Rent to learn. Long. Okay, so I imagine they have long arm. Okay, they rent out the machines. You got to get certified. That is the usual practice. Though it doesn't look like, and I'm skimming through here, it does not look like they actually do long arm quilting for you. Maybe they do. Maybe that's something you'd have to talk to them about. What do they have under clearance? Nothing. The about, okay. Yeah, okay. Nothing here about what it's going to cost for shipping. Mystery 50. Charter Mystery of 50. We're delivering extraordinary mysteries and mini mysteries designed to spark creativity, build community, and keep you guessing. Get ready to uncover stunning designs. We hope you'll join us for the M50 Mini Mystery Lucky Break. This mystery is a virtual event happening in our Mystery 50 Facebook group on Saturday, January the 10th. Join our group and watch for details. Okay. And then they talk about how it works. It's completely free to join. They tell you what the quilt will require. So it's a mystery quilt. Okay, well, if you're into that kind of thing, that might be good. And they do offer a fat quarter bundle that'll work with that as well. Okay, well, is there anything else we need to check out? I don't think so. They have gifts, all gifts. Okay. Yeah, a bangle tape measure, and they have a gift card. Okay, nothing much there. All right, so what can I say about soft impressions? Well, not much. Um, if their site is brand new, this may be something to come back to. Oh, they do have free shipping on Canada orders over $100, it says. Okay. But I didn't find anything else about shipping. So, I mean, I'm sure you'll figure it out once you put something in the cart and go to check out. But I would like to know more about that unless I've missed it somewhere, but I don't think I have. I'd like to know how much they're charging for shipping and who's shipping it. I imagine it's Canada Post, but who knows. Anyways, yeah, this one, if this is a brand new website and they're still populating it, okay, come back later. Maybe we'll see more. It looks to me like they are more focused on long arming, although they have a store and they're showing pictures of it. And it looks like the store has lots of selection in it. Their selection of fabrics is not that wonderful online. It's very limited. So overall, for all those reasons, I'm going to give Soft Impressions about a 4 out of 10. Maybe come back to it in the future and find that this has been updated and maybe more interesting at that point. So that's Soft Impressions.
So, what's coming up? Well, not much. For me, Sew Day with Walter with his group of people. I've already mentioned down the road pop-up Sew Day, but not till the end of the month, probably. And what else did I want to mention to you? Oh, yes, I have started working seriously on organizing speakers for my spring retreat. Now, the spring retreat doesn't happen until sometime in April. Again, I have not announced the date of that. I sent out 3 email requests to 3 different presenters to see if they're available and they were willing to be a presenter. Be very nice if they did, because I think these ones would be really interesting. But at the same time, people are busy. And especially when you go after people who have a thriving business or presence on YouTube, on the internet, they are really, really busy. So we'll see if I hear anything back from them. I have a few others I'm going to send notes out to as well. But if you have some suggestions, and I got a lot on Stephen and Walter Live on the weekend, if you saw that, but I'm still open to suggestions. Just send their name along. It would be preferable that they are people that have a YouTube channel as well and are not a major corporation or major business, because I don't want my retreat to turn into a free advertising event for big corporations. We don't need that kind of thing. But if you think of somebody that fits my criterion, then send their name along and a link if you can find one for them, and I'll consider it. I'll do some investigation and see what I can do. Okay, well, that's it for me today. Thank you for joining me, and do tune into So Chatty this week on Friday. I'm not sure what we're talking about yet. Gotta figure that one out too. And of course, Stephen and Walter Live on Sunday, as always, at 4 p.m. Eastern. So see you later. Have a great week. Go out and make something beautiful. Bye-bye for now.